Hi folks, welcome to Love Your Life, where I give you practical tips to create a life you love and to love the life you have. My name is Lori, I'm an emotional intelligence coach and trainer, and today I want to talk to you about how to get what you want out of life. Yeah. In another video, how to know what you want out of life, somebody asked me, they said, okay, great, I know what I want. How do I get it? How do I get it? And I am here to give you the least sexy, most boring, unfun answer ever, and it is this. Take consistent, committed action upon your goals and dreams. That's it. All right, good talk. No, just kidding. So, yes, but that's it. Take consistent, committed action upon your goals and dreams. That's how we get what we want out of life. And I think we overcomplicate that a whole heck of a lot. And when I was doing some research for this video, one of the biggest things that I found was hacks. How, 5 ways to jump to the end, 5 ways to skip the work. But is that a thing? Because I kind of think it's not. And I think that very often we can spin our wheels trying to jump to the end, or this is mine, making it perfect before I ever begin. I must know everything. It all must be ticked and tied. I have to be an expert on this. I have to do research. I get super, super lost in research. But whatever reason we're jumping to, those are big distractions for us when the real juice is taking consistent, committed action upon our goals and dreams to create them. These things are not going to happen unless we get off our butts and do some stuff, right? And one of the biggest ways that I think we kind of, very often, we are the biggest roadblock to getting stuff done, because we're the ones who have to get the stuff done. And so when I talk to folks about, cool, what are you going to do about it? You say you want this, what are you going to do about it? And anyone who has been coached by me has probably heard me say that. What do you want to create? All right, cool, what are you going to do about it? And very often, the answer is to spin and spin and spin and spin. But the person that can create the things that they want out of their lives, that's us, Buster. And there's no two ways about that. Yes, we can have some support. We can have a team around us, but the buck stops here. And that's just no fun for a lot of folks. So I want to talk about how to make our committed action a little more actionable. When I'm coaching someone and I'm asking them, what do you want? And they don't know, and they get to the point where they do know, very often it is not necessarily something that a person could actually do. So a big one that I hear, I coach several folks that have podcasts. And a big one that I hear is, I want to be the next Lewis Howes. Okay, so Lewis Howes has a very successful podcast called The School of Greatness. It's fantastic. I highly recommend you check it out. I know that his big goal was to get to 100 million downloads. And once he reached that, he reset the goal to get to 100 million downloads a week, which is crazy pants. But, he knows what he wants and he's going to go get it. So when somebody tells me they want to be the next Lewis Howes, I ask them, what part of Lewis Howes do you mean? And most times, they just look at me. I've heard, I want to be the next Tony Robbins. I want to be the next Elon Musk. These great big leaders who are revered and respected and famous and celebrities. Whoever they are, I hate to break it to the people that want to be the next Tony Robbins, but Tony Robbins is the Tony Robbins. That role is filled. And, if you are Bob Smith, your job gets to be the next, you get to be the next Bob Smith. Tony Robbins is already Tony Robbins. So coming back to the Lewis Howes example, one of the things I ask is, okay, what is it that he has that you want? And after some coaching, it can look like a multitude of different things. It could be podcast. He's famous. In certain circles, right? Not broadly Brad Pitt famous, but pretty famous. It could be, I want to have speaking engagements because he does some speaking. It could be, I want to have something like the Summit of Greatness. So once a year, he brings everybody together in Columbus, Ohio for like a 2-3 day thing where there's a bunch of speakers and people get to meet each other, like-minded personal development people who are interested in their own greatness, come to see speakers and to meet each other. Like, sometimes that's the thing they want to do. And what I want you to know is that all of those things, whether it's building a successful podcast or being a successful speaker or creating a personal development retreat, those are all very actionable things that you can figure out how to do. Like, you could chart steps to get there. That is a very different statement than, I want to be the next Lewis Howes. Roles filled, not going to work for you. So if we're taking committed action, we've got to have actionable stuff. And it doesn't always have to be, right? Sometimes it can be, I want to be happy. Well, great. Like, I love that you want to be happy. What would make you happy? And then we get to go back to the other video on how to know what you want. But I just, when we're moving on something, we need to know what direction we're going to. If I don't have something actionable, it's the equivalent of saying I want to go on vacation. Well, where do you want to go? I don't know. Well, do you want to take a flight? Yeah, I want to go on an airplane. Well, where are we going, right? You got to know where you're going before you can get there. And I think that leads into the next piece, which is letting yourself have the time to build. This is a thing that I am terrible at because it requires patience. So, staying with the podcast analogy and talking about Lewis Howes for a hot minute, his goal was to get to 100 million downloads. The very first thing he needed to do was start a podcast. And it is really, really a far trek from episode 1 to episode, 1000 or something, whatever he's on. And I don't remember what episode it was when he hit his goal, but I want to say it was 4 or 5 years in. And giving ourselves the time and the space to build, to learn, to create, to find out who we are as we're going on this journey, that is a really tough thing to do for us, right? Like, just taking the time and committing to the journey. We are all so results driven. We just want it now. And it's not going to happen overnight. Rome wasn't built in a day, and neither were 100 million downloads for a podcast. So trying to jump the line, or worse, abandoning the project because it feels hard, because there's a big journey, like, those are huge places where we fall down on getting what we want. Because it can be difficult to be patient, to give ourselves the space to build something new, especially when we're trying something new. Just letting ourselves not be perfect, letting ourselves make mistakes, letting it just be what it is instead of what we wish it was. Being present to the journey is so important in actually getting what we want out of life. And as I said before, you can't be the next Lewis Howes. Lewis Howes is already Lewis Howes. What does this journey look like when it's yours? Right? That's a thing that I'm always really, really cognizant about is, okay, this is my process. It looks the way it's going to look. It's not going to look like anyone else's. Comparison is like the death of joy. Comparison is so bad. If you started your podcast and you're looking at, say, episode 3, and you don't have 100 million downloads, probably you're not going to have 100 million downloads, but who am I to say, right? If you are comparing yourself from a podcast on episode 3 to a, 1,000 episodes in, playing at the top of their game, interviewing Oprah, you're going to feel pretty crappy. So don't do that. Don't do it. Comparison is the thief of joy. Just don't do it. Don't do it. Mark your journey by your own milestones. Notice where you improved. I promise you that the only competition that you have right now is with you. It is so difficult to look at what someone else is creating. You have no idea what they're going through to get that out the door. And it doesn't matter. What we get to do is keep our eye on the prize. This is my process. And I found this with my YouTube channel. One of the things that came up when I first started filming is that I needed more time than I ever imagined. I needed more space than I ever imagined. I needed time to write. I needed time to film. I needed time to edit. I needed the headspace to be able to speak about these things with the energy that they deserve. And those things I had not made space for. And so I had to take a couple of weeks to change things around, make sure that I could recreate my video setup because I don't have a dedicated filming area. Making time to write, making time to understand exactly all of the pieces that I needed to put together and what was that going to look like for me, and changing up some of my equipment. And I know that I'm going to need to do that over and over again. There's always going to be refinement. I'm not done. I'm still creating. I'm still on the journey. And I also know that in a year from now, my videos are going to look completely different than the videos that I'm doing today. And 5 years from now, I get that because it's a journey and I can follow some best practices from an industry perspective, but it's going to look the way it's going to look for me because it's my process. And I think just giving ourselves the space to create, to build, to own it, to let it be ours, and to let it unfold as it unfolds without comparison or impatience or trying to make it something it's not. That's the other piece, right? That's a piece that we get to do. So all of this culminates in one thing that I said a little bit earlier, which is begin, right? In order to get a podcast with 100 million downloads, you have to have a podcast. And so setting our goals to the point where we can say, okay, my goal this week or this month or this year, whatever it is, an actionable thing. This week, I'm going to research podcast equipment. I'm going to get started. We begin where we are. And again, no comparison, no judgment. Oh, I should be farther along. That doesn't help you. It does not help us get what we want. So begin where we are. And the important thing is that we begin. Most people never get started. And beginning where we're at and taking it step by step from the place where we started. Just doing episode 1, reading that first book, joining that first Toastmasters class to begin becoming a speaker, filling out the application to go back to school, signing up for the gym, or even researching gyms, right? If you are taking an action, you have gotten started. And I want to speak into that for a hot minute. I was very much debating whether I wanted to address this, and I totally do because it bugs the heck out of me. So I would guarantee that all of us have somebody in our life who has a big dream. They got a big dream, they got a big goal, or maybe they have a little dream, they have a little goal, but all they do is talk about this. And everybody in our friend group, when this person starts in on that thing, we're like, oh, okay, here we go again. Because they've talked and talked and talked and talked and talked and talked and talked about it, and it's all they talk about, and never once have they gotten started. Never once have they taken step 1, you know. They're just talking about the podcast they're going to start, but they never actually do the podcast. And it's been 5 years, 7 years, 10 years, 2 decades. What I will say about that is that people who know what they want and can see what their life would be like if they had it and don't do it suffer. They suffer. If you know what you want, you know what it would be like to have it, and you do not give it to yourself, you suffer. And I've seen this over and over again with clients, with students, with peers, with people in my life. They have this beautiful thing that they've built up to this goal. It's like their castle, right? And right around the castle is the moat of all of their excuses, their stories, their reasons that they can't. They can't possibly. Here's this golden castle on the hill. Here's the moat all around it. I can't get across it. Nope. And they've built it all themselves. And what I have found is that those people obsess. They're super hyper focused on their moat, their story that's keeping them from the golden castle of whatever it is they want. Whatever it is. And it could be losing 10 pounds. It could be moving to India. I don't care what it is. What's important is that they've made up such a fiction for themselves of why they can't do it. And that becomes more important to them than actually doing it. And like I said, I would put money that everyone knows someone like that. And what I will say to you about that is, if you have time, and I'm going to say this to myself because I say this to myself. If I have time to talk about my golden castle, I'm going to start a podcast. I talk about it 15 minutes a day, 4 times a week. I'm talking to my mom about it. I'm talking to my best friend about it. I'm talking to the internet about it. I'm posting about it. But I never take action on it. That is, let's say I do it 15 minutes 4 times a week. That's an hour that I could have worked on making my podcast, right? Like all of that energy that I used to talk about why I can't do this thing that I would really love to do could be channeled into doing it. You could just do it. And I guarantee you that when you are the guy that is on and on and on and on about all the reasons they can't do this beautiful thing, your friends are bored. Your friends are tired. They're tired of hearing your excuses because they know you're amazing. They know you could do it. They know you could pick up and make it happen, and you won't. For whatever reason, and I really don't care why. I just don't care. I just don't care why. When the story of why we can't becomes more powerful than why we want to, why we should, what this beautiful thing could be for us, either get moving or let that dream go, because you are burning calories on something that isn't going to come to fruition. And I know, I've seen folks, and this is the thing that kills me, man. And it's not like I don't do this. Let's be clear. I do this. It took me a solid 4 months of talking about the YouTube video before I did my first one. Now, mind you, I was actually doing research and learning stuff, but I was spending just as much energy talking about it as I was doing it. Not productive. But I'm thinking about a friend of mine who, they made a big move. They made a big move, and they've been talking about the big move, and it was like their signature thing. And they made the big move, and they're so happy. They're thrilled, and I am thrilled for them. And they could have been happy 3 years ago. Begin. Get started. Get moving. And if you're 10 years in and you're still in the same spot, maybe it's time to let that go and channel your energy into something else. Maybe maybe that person that you were 10 years ago really wanted that and you don't want it now. Maybe you still want it. So get moving. Begin. Break it down into pieces. Make it actionable. Begin. Don't delay your joy for the beautiful construction of a river of excuses. Every time we do that, we are spending our energy to no effect. So, this is all to say, in summary, figure out what you want, figure out how to do it, let yourself have the space to create whatever it is that you're creating on your own time, with your own energy, in your own way, and get moving, friends. Get moving, because these things are not inevitable. Your dreams are not inevitable. Our dreams are only going to come into existence if we create them. They will not happen without our direct, consistent, committed action. So, the good news is, it's in our hands to begin. So let's get started. And I hope this video was helpful. If you have questions about this, if you want me to dive deeper into anything that you see in this video, or there's another topic that you'd like me to talk about, let me know in the comments. All right, and we'll see you next time.